Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And it's a pleasure to follow the member for Birmingham and Edwington. I've spoken about the problems of antisocial behaviour in my constituency a number of times before, and I agree with so many of the Honourable and Right Honourable members who have spoken as well in the comments that they've made that this is bigger than just a police funding issue. This is about the cuts to local government too, and the youth services have been mentioned frequently, and I've mentioned frequently through my role on the Education Select Committee the problem with exclusions and that contributing towards children being involved in crime. But I feel we're missing a fundamental point still in this debate, and we're missing the point that doesn't seem to be mentioned is that the general public are losing faith in our police service. Now, that's a bigger issue than an issue just for this government, and it's a bigger issue than an issue just for the opposition. This is an issue that should be concerning every single one of us, because I'm quite sure that every single one of us here will know of a constituent who has told them about a crime and then followed it with, "I didn't see the point in telling the police." Or, "I tried to phone the police and I couldn't get through." Or, "My friend phoned the police, they got through and no one came round, so why should I bother reporting it?" We have even known in some areas of my constituency, in some of the more wealthy areas, where residents are talking about actually providing their own security services to check their streets. This is starting to sound incredibly worrying, where we have people no longer with the faith that our public services, that our police will keep them safe, to the point where they're talking about funding their own. And it reminds me of my children went to South Africa in the summer, and they told me all about there, where everybody pays for their own security services because they have no faith in the government. Surely this is not what we want in our country, in Britain, that people have lost the faith in the police service. And I say this not because I have any problems with the police service, because they do an incredible job, but because year on year underfunding and year of the police being stretched to a capacity which they cannot possibly deal with means that crimes are not being dealt with. Now, the police have said to me before, when I talk about an area where there's additional crime, they say, "We know it's a problem, Emma, but the people there never report it." And you go around there and you talk to people, and these are in certain tower blocks in my constituency, and what they're facing is horrific. And actually, I think it gives a really poor impression of where the crime is. Because if you look on the statistics from my constituency, you might say, "Oh, actually, crime seems to be worse in the more wealthier areas." No. The people in those areas are more likely to report it. Yes. Crime is actually much worse in the tower blocks. And if you go around there and talk to the people there, they're facing a horrendous time. So what I'm saying to the Minister is this is not just, "Will you give us some more money?" Yes, we do want some more money, and we need a hell of a lot more than what you're offering us. But what it is also about is how can you, the government, restore people's faith that when they make that phone call to the police, something is going to happen, there is going to be an outcome. And earlier on, the Home Secretary talked about the problem with mental health services, and I'm sure the Minister is aware of a wonderful police officer who very sadly committed suicide because she was not getting the support she needs. And I say again to the Minister, this is not a criticism of any of our hard-working officers, and I want to make a special mention to Inspector Craig Mattinson, who I spent the day with, who does an incredible job locally. This is about me saying that unless, as a government, you take the issue of the increasing crime more seriously, then it will come back to bite each and every one of us. Because the last thing we want is people taking the law into their own hands. And I fear that is what too many are being forced to do.
Ruth George. Thank you very much. And I pay tribute to